Good morning. Welcome to Eretz Yisrael. I'm Avraham Shira. Welcome to our final in a series called The Jewish Cultural Revolution on Hanukkah. And today's discussion will be about what I call World War III. Great headline, right? World War III. Get some attention. Well, it is real and it is happening right now. The war, of course, is for the heart of humanity. And we're going to go through a series of stages of understanding how this works, how we can justify this statement, and how it all relates to Hanukkah, and how we are a global community, and how we are operating as a global community, and how we win the war against the enemy, whoever the enemy is. Let's not worry about who the enemy is yet, because we might be our own enemy. And we can't point the finger at anybody directly without implicating others. So let's win the war inside and then we'll find out. So the first concept that we're going to deal with is this war for the heart of man is the war for attention span. Okay, your attention span is what the world is after. See, in Kabbalah, the external forces, they only exist by virtue of the mind power that they can take from us. It's called mochin in Kabbalah. It's your mental power. And your mental power gives life to the external forces. If that is to say, if I don't think about them, they don't exist by me. They might be out there in the world, but if I don't think about them, they're not nursing from my brain. They're not taking from my soul. Now, Rabbi Nachman says in Likutei Moharan an amazing thing. He says millions of amazing things, but one of them is that the light that comes out of your eyes is not light like these light bulbs or the light of the moon. The light that comes out of your eyes is your soul. It is a beam. It comes out of your soul. It's called Or Yashar. And this light is soul power because it is invested with the ability to take pictures and to send pictures. It's a two-way camera, your soul-eye combination. Two-way camera. Sends beams out, takes a picture, and then the picture bounces back into your eye and your brain rearranges it so that you can see it and understand what you're seeing. And it's moving, all this is happening very fast as you gather. And that's why the eye is the most precious of all the organs in halakha. If someone damages somebody's eyes, it's the most expensive responsibility. Now, so when the beam of the eye comes out, it is part of you, and that's why it says Shlosha Devarim Marchivim Dat Shel Adam. Three things expand the mind of a man, and one is a nof yafeh, a beautiful view. A beautiful view, it expands your mind because your soul is expanding as it comes out of your eyes. It strikes a picture of the mountains, or the ocean, or the desert, whatever, expands your heart, and then it goes back in, and that expanse enters you. That's your soul. But we're not taught all these things. And, thank God somebody did teach us this great tzaddik. So understand that your soul is going out, it's taking pictures, and it's coming back in all the time. And it's precious. It's a precious process. Now, when the image goes back into your eye, guess what it does? It triggers memories of what that picture is. So if you take a picture with your eye of something that you experienced before, you remember it. Oh, this is the ocean. Oh, this is my grandfather in the album, from 100 years ago. And this is the things that the rabbis told me not to look at. But they're all taking pictures inside the mind. And then what happens? They reduce to a spark that enters the heart, where the heart gets to decide whether it wants that image inside your mind. Understand? So it goes from image to a spark in the heart that creates heat in the heart. And the heat, it becomes desire for the thing that you see, whatever it may be. And it could be food, and it could be sexuality, it could be money. It could be power. It could be somebody else's race car. Or it could be attachment to God's name. Another verse of Torah. Another chapter of Tehillim. Another tear for the love of something so great we don't even know it. So the picture becomes an image that drops into the heart, and it creates a response. And then guess what? It goes further. It spreads out into your body. And depending what it is that you put in your body, that's what it produces in your body. So let's say you watch a boxing match and there's extreme violence happening on that boxing match. That takes aggression, enters the mind through the image. The aggression enters the heart, and guess what? Next thing you know, you're aggressive. You want to go out and hit the punching bag. Hopefully, just the punching bag, right? You don't want to hit, enough. So, do you see, whatever we focus on, that's what we reproduce inside ourselves. And that's why this is World War III, because the world is competing for your attention span. It's repeating for where your eye goes and the images that you take, that you process inside yourself. And believe me, it's a war. As anybody who's tried to perfect his vision and perfect his inner eye and tried to expand his inner plane, a scope of vision into the spiritual realm, you'll find out very quickly how powerful these images of this world are. Because this world is only the physical realm. It's very limited, actually. Now, another idea, important idea from the Kabbalah. Every day, a man is given a certain capsule of soul power. Each day, you get a certain amount of energy in your soul battery. That's why we sleep. We got to plug into heaven to recharge the batteries so we can come down and do it again in this world today. And along with that spark, that little capsule of divine energy that you get when you go to sleep at night, because your soul goes up to heaven and comes back, your higher soul, the lower soul stays in the body. The higher soul brings back new power. Guess what comes with it? New oppositional power. What we call the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination. Not the inclination for good, which is a spark of Hashem, rather an inclination to hide Hashem, to hide truth, to hide goodness, to hide moral law. All of those we include in this big category called the evil inclination. And every day you get a new one of each. So each day you get a choice. What am I going to do with my soul power? And it's a big choice. It doesn't seem like such a big choice. I mean, what am I going to do today? I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to yeshiva. I'm going to go see clients. I'm going to go chop firewood. I'm going to help my wife. It's kind of like the same day over and over, but it's not, because you're living it inside here. And your choices that are going on inside here are all the difference, because that's where the battle's being fought between where you give your attention span. And that's why you see the whole world has got their eyes glued to the phone. Well, guess what that glue is? It's that soul power coming out of their eye that we just learned about. So, and I have friends that worked at the high levels in Microsoft, and he said for hours and hours a day, they would sit around talking about how they could attract people's attention spans and hold it, because that's advertising dollars. Your mind is a product. It's a place, it's a marketplace that the world wants to buy. And the people in those boardrooms are trying to figure out how to get your attention span and hold it. Now, I'm not calling this a worldwide conspiracy, because that's way too inflammatory and unnecessary. Because everybody's out to make a buck somehow. But Baruch Hashem, we have the Torah, which the Torah should be free. Now, people's time and energy, that's not necessarily for free. But the Torah is there for everybody who wants it around the globe right now. A few buttons, you're anywhere in any rabbi's class that you want to be. But understand these ideas. So while the world is competing for your mind space, so they can get your advertising buck. You get to decide, well, I hear it, guys. I know you want me to scroll more and more with, thumb down on my phone, down more images, more stories, more quotes, more jokes, more pranks, more shtiyot. It's fun, it's entertaining, yeah. But where does it take you? Only back to the Google boardroom. Where they ching, 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 they ring you up. Because you took your soul power, your precious godly soul power for this day, and not just you, all of us. We spend it on those little micro moments on things that don't build our being. They don't raise us up. They don't lift us to a higher plane. They don't make us happy to be alive. They don't expand our heart that we care about people the way we should care about people. So just look at it that way, that life is this, it's like, like the old time movies with you slow it down and you get frame. Light every day is like these series of frames, and each frame is a tiny little spark of divine camera film that's recording life, and you're processing it, and you're taking it in, and it's releasing its energy inside you, tiny levels. But each level produces something else until it either gets processed through the body or through action. And what Judaism comes along and says, well, take that energy and turn it into prayer. Take that energy and build something, create something beautiful. And don't just spin your energy out on the internet or just talking and talking without getting somewhere with your talking. And the Greeks, by the way, the ancient Greeks, they knew all of this. Intuitively, they knew this. That if they did not capture the Jewish mind, they would never hold the soul of humanity. And the Greeks already ruled the world. You see, this is the problem with tyrants and world leaders, is they always want more. Because that's the nature of evil itself. It always wants more. So the Greeks already ruled the world, but they couldn't rule those little group of Kohanim in Jerusalem. They couldn't rule them. And that upset them. And that made them attack our religion, our Shabbos, our Brit Milah, our Rosh Chodesh. Because they couldn't get that little last grip of that tiny hill down the road from here. Called Jerusalem. Called the Old City. Called Har Bayit. Called the Temple of God. That's what they wanted. They wanted the Temple of God because as long as there's a God in the world, guess what? Human power isn't absolute. And that bothers people who love absolute power. And the spark of all of that is it's the great prosecutor, the DA in heaven, who was kicked out of heaven because he said, I want to be God. So, the whole structure of humanity and the world itself is built on this dichotomy between good and evil. Between the one who wants God's will and the one who says, no, we don't want God's will. We want to hide God's will because ultimately I want to be God. And that's what that fallen angel said and did. We don't even say his name out loud. Samech Men Aleph Lamed. Spell it out. Don't say it. But it means Sam El, the drug of God. That name can be split into two words. Sam, drug, El, God. That he is the drug of God. What is the drug of God? To be God. And that's why it's forbidden to make a statue of oneself or to make a 5-meter portrait of yourself and put it in your golden living room in Manhattan, if you know who I'm talking about. Because our ego is boundless, because it's attached to the boundless from the other side. And the Greeks had that ego because they were the world emperors. And if you were world emperor today, if somebody made something and gave you 20 billion, you'd feel like you're up there at the top tier of society, of reality. Now, would you really be? Well, maybe by influencing other people with your money, yes. But not in the Torah world. You would just be another unlearned person who needs to open a book and sit down and be quiet and absorb the wisdom of the sages and the wisdom of the ages before we open our mouths and try to run the world. But the Greeks could not bear the Kohanim and their dedication to the temple and to God. They could not bear it. And that's why they attacked. And that's why eventually they lost. Because they were not for God. They were against him. If you're for God, you're going to win in the end. If you have that patience, you're going to win. If you make your life about that. And that's the ultimate war. And that's the ultimate victory of World War III. The war for the human heart. So, understand, your mind is your palace. Your heart is your inner sanctum. What you put in it, you have to deal with. And it's okay to close the doors. It's okay to put the shutters on the window of your heart and mind. I'd say, no, this is mine. This is where I get my power. This is where I get my real strength from my connection to the infinite. And everybody else has their own connection to the infinite, so why are you trying to get into mine and sell me on Facebook? Understand, this is not a joke. Even though I like to joke. You know, gotta lighten up sometimes. But it's the 8th day of Hanukkah. The 8th day of Hanukkah includes all the other days. That's why we have 8 candles. That's why we light 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 8. Because all the days are included in the 8th day. And this is a concept in Kabbalah elsewhere. It's called Malchut, where the kingship absorbs all the powers of the nation into itself. That's why the king is like the last one you talk to, because he has all the power. And all the resources of the nation go to the king so that the king can distribute them into the world properly. And if all the billionaires understood they have a little bit of spark of king in them that they're supposed to use for God, this world would change overnight. Because they were given that power of influence, and if they choose to use it for the wrong reasons, they could destroy the world, or a nice part of it. Now, let's go a little further. But all of us know we live in this physical realm. You know, I'm going to have a cup of coffee once in a while. L'chaim. And I'm going to have to eat, and I'm going to have to sleep, and I'm going to have to get a new sweater when it's cold. We need the physical world to exist in the physical world. That's why it's called Klipat Noga. In Kabbalah, this world is called the shining shell. It's a shell. Means it covers something else. What does it cover? The spark of God within. And we're as if to say, looking from the outside in. And it's a glowing shell. It's not all light and it's not all dark. We are right in the intersection between light and dark. That's where we live. Okay? And Rabbi Nachman teaches us in the first Torah of Likutei Moharan that the main avodah in this world is to attach your mind to the spark in each thing, to the life force in each thing. Everything has a life force. And that life force is available to your mind. And when you attach your mind to the life force of the thing, guess what? You increase your spiritual power. As opposed to spending my spiritual power surfing pages on the internet, I expand my spiritual power by attaching to the spark of God in everything. So we're back to the same principle. If you don't use your mind to expand divinity, holiness, truth, life force for goodness, not life force for reproducing the patterns of negativity. When you use your mind for that, it expands. And each day you get broader, bigger, more loving, more compassionate, more patient. It's maybe like tiny little increments, but those increments are the real difference. And your wife and your husband will notice it first. And your kids will know it intuitively. And if I spend my day on nonsense, at the end of the day, I have an empty vessel of nonsense. I spent all my soul at the wrong store. So when I attach my mind, it's not that you have to go to synagogue and sit in yeshiva. We do that because we need to learn about this system in order that we can live properly. But the idea is to take what we learn and go out in the world and use it properly. And that's so we take our mind out and think of your mind as this divine camera taking pictures, taking the spark of life out of it, from it, not stealing it, rather receiving from it, and then giving it back into the world. So whatever you look at, you look at this marker. Is this marker full of life? Well, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to talk to me or walk or make breakfast. But this marker represents thousands of hours of manpower. And it represents petroleum that was extracted from the earth. And it represents ink that was somehow brought together and put inside a little fuzzy wuzzy and becomes a marker. There's life, there's sparks in that. And if I use this to write words of Torah, then I elevate the ink and I elevate the whole process. It's reached a conclusion that this marker becomes an instrument of God when you write down words of godliness. And if I take it out and I write curse words on the wall of somebody's church or somebody's house, or, well, what have I done with all that work? I've reduced it, I've diminished it, I've demeaned it. So that's how we live our life. We go out and we attach to things with this mind camera, and we either use them for good and elevate them, or use them for the wrong thing and create more garbage that collects in the middle of the Pacific Ocean until, well, that becomes a whole new industry. We have to figure out how to clean the ocean that we polluted in the first place. So understand, the Greeks, the Hanukkah story, didn't just happen then for then. And those people, it happened for all of history. And it's happening now. But instead of just being in Israel between these little family of Kohanim, the Hashmonaim, and these Greeks who were actually part of either a Syrian, Egyptian, Greek, conspiracy is not a nice word, fair word. It's a coalition, right, of nations that were all ruled by Alexander, and then each took their time on top of the throne. And so that war is being fought today, but on a global scale. And it's global through the heart and the mind of every person. You ever talk to somebody who doesn't know that there's an internet, that there's iPhones, that you can dial around the globe in 2 seconds? You ever made anybody like that? Well, like children are like that for a very short time. Or if you meet some, Indian from South America who's never come out of the jungle. But you can go downtown in Jerusalem to Mea Shearim and you can meet old sages that still don't know. They're not even aware of it. They spent their whole life with these books, with this prayer, with this vision that's been given to us for thousands of years. And they're not even aware that there's this big, giant, global society thing happening. Now, they are aware of it on an eternal level because they understand everything is one. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. God is our God, and He is one. When you know He's one, you receive from all the channels. All of it becomes sources of life power. And the evil inclination doesn't want you to know that. And it doesn't want you to know that we're operating on this integrated system of soul power, and that we're all this multi-billion eye camera, taking pictures and responding and sending the results of those pictures back into the world. Okay, now I have a lot more notes here, and I see that I'm not going to get to it today because, we spent our time here with these general principles, but these are so important. Look at this video again, share it with your friends, repeat the ideas to yourself. They're slippery. The mind is a slippery place, It's oily in there, and you want to repeat them and go over them until you receive the peace of that unifies the whole thing inside you. That you are a mini creator and a mini creation, and that you are here to create good, and that we are here to expand this knowledge and wisdom to the entire human race, and then maybe even further, because it says in the future world, every righteous person is going to inherit 310 worlds. And some people say, well, that's kind of like a rabbinical exaggeration, inheriting 310 worlds. What does that mean? Well, it could mean 310 tiny sparks from the 7 Sfirot of Zah multiplied by the 10 Sfirot inside the 10 Sfirot and the 12 Partsufim expanded. We could do it the Kabbalah way. Or maybe by then there'll be interstellar travel. And maybe the interstellar travel is going to happen in here first. And then maybe you're going to inherit things that you don't even know exist because you dedicated your life and yourself to this truth. And it depends on each day how we spend our little pocket of soul and what we do with it and what we come back with at the end of the day. And then you will sleep good at night and you will get up in the morning and you will be new again. And you'll get a new packet. And guess what? The packet will have a new obstacle, a new district attorney checking out your file. That's okay. We need him because he is the district attorney is what makes us want to do more and better and good all the time, every day. So Zot Chanuka is the day of the blessing of Hanukkah. It's the stamp, it's the completion, it's the victory of knowledge over darkness. And that's what we have here, is the real knowledge. And the real darkness is just the absence of what we need to know to be the best that we can be. It's there for you. It's all out there. Check us out on our daily Patreon classes. We've been doing this for over 3 years, every day learning this wisdom and putting it all together. And it's a massive puzzle, but we're working it. We're going to have a beautiful thing at the end. And I want to invite you all there on my Patreon daily classes. We come up on Facebook and YouTube and Insight Timer meditations, and go to my website, avrahamshira.com, and you can get some videos and poems and essays and all kinds of neat stuff. Because once you touch the light, you become part of that light, and then you have something so good you want to give it to the world. Hanukkah Sameach. We'll see you on our daily classes. All the best.